So, sir, almost 20 participants are there. So, we can start our meeting. Hello, friends. Good evening. It is our great pleasure that I have Dr. Jignesh Vasan Chauhan and my colleagues Dr. Vinayak Desai, sir, who are the host of today's webinar and got this opportunity to welcome all to behalf of Daisar Medical Association. Here I am request to all the participants to mute their microphone and please don't use your screen sharing option between our live webinar session. Here I am requesting our host, Dr. Vinayak Desai, sir, to proceed the further session. Dr. Vinayak Desai, sir.
Dr. Jignesh. Good evening, respected doctors. Welcome you all to our 16th webinar of the Daisar Medical Association. Now it is almost 4-5 and we have almost 20 delegates. India is a diabetic capital and so are the complications like diabetic foot rising. To enlighten about the diabetic food, we have with us leading surgeon from Borivali Daisar, Dr. Shrikant Bhoyer, sir. To moderate the session, we have another leading surgeon, Dr. Ravindra Bagwe, sir. Vote of thanks will be given by a leading family physician from Mira Road, Dr. Dilip Raut, sir. He was also our past president. This lecture is sponsored by UCare Pharmaceutical, who has specialization in wound healing products and many other that will be discussed by the product manager Samadrita Mukherjee and Pradeep Lomte. To introduce our speaker, Dr. Bhoyer, sir, we have a leading family physician from Gorai, Dr. Vinod Pandey, sir. Dr. Vinod Pandey, sir, over to you.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes, you are audible.
Good evening to all respected doctors of Dahisar Medical Association. On behalf of Dahisar Medical Association, I am Dr. Vinod Pandey, going to introduce our today's speaker who will going to talk on topic advanced management of diabetic foot ulcer. This topic is going to be a very useful topic for general practitioner like us in day-to-day practice. Today's speaker is Dr. Shrikant Bhoyer, sir. Shrikant Bhoyer, sir, is MBBS MS. He is Consultant General and Diabetic Foot Surgeon. He is running his Dr. Bhoyer's Diabetic and Diabetic Foot Clinic at Ashok One, Borivali East. For last 15 years, he is Consultant Diabetic Foot Surgeon at Wockhardt Hospital, North Mumbai, and Apex Multi and Super Speciality Hospital, Mumbai. He has been treated more than 5,000 diabetic foot ulcer patients. His mission is to prevent amputation of leg whenever possible. He is principal investigator for new modalities for USA, UK, Australian companies in India. Sir's wife, Dr. Megha, is also a diabetologist. So without taking much time, I would like to hand over the session to Dr. Bhoyer, sir. Sir, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Vinod, for nice introduction. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. Can you see the slides, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Good afternoon. I would like to thank DMA for giving me this opportunity for presenting today's subject. I also like to thank moderator Dr. Bagwe and chairpersons for this session. And special thanks to UCare Pharmaceuticals who are the producers of the Ergotool AG and Ergotool Cleanse foam, which is recently introduced into the market and is a good quality foam, for sponsoring this program. You all will agree that feet are worshipped in India, but they are the most abused and neglected part of the body. We look at our face at least 5 to 10 times a day. Ladies तो ज़्यादा ही देखती होंगी, but hardly we look at our feet. ऐसा बहुत बार होता है कि throughout their lifetime, patient don't look at their feet, and when they look at their feet, when there is a injury or trauma and which gives pain. Imagine in a patient of diabetes who has undergone neuropathy and lost the sensation. When he will look at his feet, unless until the injury becomes grave and severe, and when they come to us, we have no option than to do the amputation. So making the patient aware that their foods have become insensate and how to take care of their food, most of the problems can be solved there and there only. Coming to the epidemiology, you all agree that food problems affect near about 15 to 25% of all the diabetic patients. Every 30 seconds, someone is losing his feet because of diabetes. And in India, nearly 2 lakhs. Now the count is also increasing. The patients are losing limb because of diabetes. And out of this, 85% of these amputations are preventable with early diagnosis and treatment, because in India, most of the amputations are taking place in a neuropathic foot. We have the more of a neuropathic foot as compared to the neuroischemic or vascular foot. So if we make the patient aware that his foot has become insensate, we can prevent 85% of the amputations. Coming to the tragic rule of 50, 15% of the diabetics, you can say now 25%, will develop foot ulcer in their lifetime. And 15% foot ulcers will develop into osteomyelitis, infection of the bone. And 50% will also lead to the amputations. Out of this 50%, out of these ulcers, 50% amputations take place at transfemoral or transtibial level. That means at higher amputations. And 50% patient will have second amputation of the leg in the 5 years. And 50% of the patient will die 5 years of their first amputation. So the mortality is very high. If we consider lung cancer and liver cancer together, it is more than that also. If we come to the pathogenesis of diabetic foot, it is multifactorial and still poorly understood. There is a neuropathy, vasculopathy, restricted joint mobility. These are the 3 main factors. And there is an osteoarthropathy, infection and biofilm formation, and immune dysfunction. And prolonged hyperglycemia contribute to all above factors through the different mechanisms. So for a diabetologist, it is important to have the patient's blood sugar into normal limits. So most of these complications can be preventable. Coming to the diabetic neuropathy, it can be sensory neuropathy, motor neuropathy, and autonomic neuropathy. Because of sensory neuropathy, touch, pain, temperature, the protective sensation is lost. So the people are unaware to any injury. Because of loss of protective sensation, they don't give much importance to these injuries. They don't know also. Because of motor neuropathy, there is a denervation and atrophy of the small muscles, foot muscles, leading to the changes in the biomechanics of the foot. So the pressure somewhere comes more and somewhere comes less. Where the more the pressure, there are chances of developing the ulceration is high. Because of autonomic neuropathy, there is a vasodilatation and absence of sweating, making the foot warm, and the foot cracks. Fissure formation is there. Simple application of moisturizer to the diabetic patients, those who have not developed ulcer, can prevent this fissure formation in the diabetic patients. Look at this sensory neuropathy in the patient. The patient who has come this on the right side, he is a 36-year-old boy, diabetic, type 2 diabetes, went to UP and went to offer the namaz in the hot summer when there is a 48-degree temperature. Other people were running, but he was just walking because he was not pursuing the sensation. And when he come back, he had these ulcers. This is preventable. Even though he was told that his foot has become insensate, people don't follow the doctor's advice. Another patient having a nail into his foot, we have removed in the clinic. This is the painless nature of the diabetic foot disease. Because of motor neuropathy, as I told you, the small muscles of the foot become atrophic, and there is a lot of deformities like a hammer toes, claw toes, claws over toes, and because of which there is a dorsiflexion and hypertrophy, means of the metatarsal heads, leading to the making these parts more prone to the ulcer formation. As I told you, there is autonomic neuropathy, crack formation, and simple application of moisturizer can prevent this problem. Coming to the diabetic vasculopathy, it can be macroangiopathy or microangiopathy. Macroangiopathy, you all know, atherosclerotic disease of the large arteries. as in other any patients. But microangiopathy is unique to the diabetic patients. There is an increased thickness of the basement membrane, endothelial proliferation, and because of which, and there is a calcium deposition also. So because of it, there is a decreased local blood flow, poor antibiotic penetration, and that's why there is a poor wound healing. Microbiology, generally the diabetic food infections are most of the times are polymicrobial. So always there are gram positive, gram negative anaerobes and fungal infections are present. So our treatment should be directed to cover all the spectrum of this disease. Fungal infections are near about 26 to 27% of the patient who is present with ulcer have a fungal infection. So must add antifungal treatment into the management of diabetic foot ulcers. Charcot foot. Charcot foot is a devastating, limb-threatening, often preventable complication of diabetic foot because of a peripheral neuropathy. But nowadays we are seeing in the ischemic foot also. It affects near about 8 to 29% of all the diabetic patients. It is a non-infectious progressive condition of single or multiple joint, characterized by joint dislocation, pathological fractures, and severe destruction of pedal edema. It can present as an acute Charcot, it can present as a chronic Charcot also. Acute Charcot presents like a cellulitis, red, hot, swollen limb, whose temperature is increased by 2 to 10 degree temperature. Now everybody has a skin thermometer. So any diabetic patient who is presenting with a red, hot, swollen foot must think about a Charcot foot. Then cellulitis. If you differentiate the cellulitis from the Charcot foot, in the cellulitis, if you raise the leg, the swelling may not decrease, but in Charcot foot, swelling will decrease. CRP will be increased in the cellulitis, will not be increased in the Charcot foot. Maybe 50% of the patient, it will not be increased in cellulitis. Toxic symptoms may be present in the cellulitis, fever may be present, may not be present in the Charcot foot. So any patient presenting with a swollen foot, diabetic patient must be submitted to the X-rays so that we can catch them early. MRI is the best, which will catch the Charcot foot early, but X-ray also can do. One of the patient came to me from the Surat with a history of he's a shopkeeper, was lifting some was pulling down some thing from the shelf, and after that he developed the swelling. As he developed the swelling, all types of pathies were involved into that, massage and so many other things, but nobody thought of taking the X-ray. When he came to us, we just first thing we did was the X-ray, and there is the multiple fractures. So and then I asked why he has not taken the X-rays. They said no doctor has told because there was no trauma only. So in the diabetic patient, the bones can become brittle. So the patient presenting with any swelling of a foot must be submitted to X-ray or MRIs. These are the various stages of the Charcot foot. Coming to the clinical examination of diabetic foot, you must have physical examination, thorough history, how long it is that, and then neurological assessment and vascular assessment, which can be done in the clinic only. Coming to the neurological assessment, a simple 10-gram monofilament test can help you to know about whether the patient has lost the protective sensation in his foot. Monofilament is just like the filament where you have to apply on the 10 different parts of the foot. And when you press the ligament and when you form the C, that means you have applied the 10-gram pressure at that particular part. If the patient can pursue that sensation, or if the patient cannot pursue the sensation, that means he has developed neuropathy or he has not developed the neuropathy. This is a large fiber neuropathy. There can be small fiber neuropathy that we can talk later on. Small fiber neuropathy is reversible. Large fiber neuropathy is not a reversible thing. Coming to the biothesimer, this is you can say tuning fork, electronic tuning fork, where you can apply this fork at 6 to 7 different points on the foot and increase the voltage. There will be vibration. If the patient cannot pursue the vibration between 26 to 50 voltage, that means he has a large fiber neuropathy. That means he has lost the protective sensation. Even though he has not have a foot ulcer, he must be given the proper footwears and he should be made aware that his foot has lost the protective sensation. He must take care of his foot. Otherwise, he can land up into a foot ulceration. Vascular assessment. This is also a very important part in the management of diabetic foot ulcers, whereas things are there: Doppler, trans-TCPO2, invasive peripheral arteriography, handheld Doppler. This you can keep in the clinic with the help of, first you can palpate the dorsalis pedis and posterior tibial. You all know where to palpate dorsalis pedis and posterior tibial. Then with the help of Doppler, if you cannot palpate the dorsalis pedis or posterior tibial, then use the handheld Doppler. And with the help of which you will be able to know whether there is a monophasic, biphasic or triphasic flow. Triphasic flow is a normal flow. Monophasic and biphasic flow can tell us about there is a obstruction higher up. So this patient can be subjected to the other investigations. It can tell us about the even venous condition also. And with the help of handheld Doppler, you can do a ankle brachial index. You can determine the ankle brachial index. What is ankle brachial index? Ankle brachial index is the highest systolic pressure of two bedal arteries, dorsalis pedis and posterior tibial, divided by the brachial systolic pressure in the arm. If there is a severe disease, the reading will be 0 to 0.4. Mild to moderate disease, 0.41 to 0.9. Normal is 0.91 to 1.3. Sometimes you get the readings more than 1.3 because the systolic pressure it will continuously give noise. That means the vessels have become calcified and they cannot collapse. So this patient subjected to the then other TCPO2 or the toe pressure index. This will not tell about the obstruction, but this will definitely tell about the atherosclerosis disease in the foot and other parts of the body. Then you have a foot scan. Previously, we had a Harris mat and we take the impression. With the help of foot scan, you come to know about where is the higher pressure. And these are the points where patient can develop the ulcer. So with the help of footwears or insoles, we can deflate the pressure and prevent the ulcer formation. Foot scan is a preventive measure, as well as after the surgery, when you corrected the biomechanics, you can again subject the patient to this foot scan, and you will come to know whether you have really offloaded the pressure or not. For the management of diabetic foot ulcers, we can divide this into various stages. Normal foot means any diabetic patient with normal foot. High risk foot when he has a neuropathy, other complication, pyronychia, small infections. Ulcerated foot when he has an ulcer, infected foot, necrotic foot, and unsalvageable foot means where you cannot salvage the foot and he will require the amputation. And all these stages can be applied with these aspects: mechanical control, metabolic control, wound control, microbiological control, vascular management, and education. Mechanical control means offloading, metabolic control means his electrolyte imbalances, everything is controlled, lipid control, wound control, local wound control, if he infected, antimicrobiology control, and vascular ischemic, then you can have ischemic management like angioplasty and bypass. So coming to the various stages means of management. Debridement. Debridement is a gold standard of removing the dead necrotic tissue from the infected wounds. You can remove the bacteria and go down up to the normal healthy bleeding tissue. Offloading, there can be external offloading and there can be internal offloading. I am definitely specifically in this topic, in this talk, going to talk about the internal offloading surgeries that are done at very few centers in Mumbai. External offloading with the help of pressures on the ulcer is removed with the orthostatic shoes, scandals, crutches, wheelchairs, and total contact cast. Total contact cast is considered to be a gold standard in the management of diabetic foot ulcers. Internal offloading surgeries. There are various surgical methods with the help of which we can offload the pressure with the help of surgeries. How that can be done, we will discuss later on. Vascular intervention. When there is a blockage into the artery, there is a low blood supply. When the wound is not healing because of ischemia, you can subject the pressure to the peripheral angioplasty and or the bypass, depending upon the blockages. If it is small blockage, localized blockage, you can go for angioplasty. If it is a long segment blockage, more than 10 centimeter, bypass surgery is needed. Infection control. With the help of oral or systemic antibiotics, we can use we can control the infection. Osteomyelitis, there is again the medical line and surgical line. Surgical line means you are just removing the infected bone, or medical line, you can give the antibiotic for 3 weeks to 3 months time, depending upon the sensitivity. If the wound heals, okay, otherwise subject the patient to the surgery. Oral and or IV antibiotic depending upon the local infection, systemic infection, regional infection, and systemic infection. Dressing, there are various types of dressings that we'll discuss later on. And then special techniques. There are artificial skin substitutes are there available in the market, little bit high on the cost side, but they are there. Integra, Dermacell, Surgicals, growth factors. We can platelet-rich growth factors. Their enzymes are also there. You can produce the growth factors in your clinics also with the help of special machines. Negative pressure wound therapy, hyperbaric oxygen therapies. As coming to the debridement, SAP surgical debridement, we all surgeons love to do that. So it is a gold standard, you can say, for the removing the infected necrotic tissue. Then there can be autolytic debridement. If the patient cannot be subjected to the surgery, you can use autolytic enzymes to debride the necrotic tissue. Various types of hydrogels are available, which softens and break down the necrotic tissue. And next dressing, you can remove that, again put the this gels, and again gradually it can remove the necrotic tissue. Then we have enzymatic debridement. We have the ointments available like Autolyse, Debridase, we can be used for the enzymatic debridement. Mechanical debridement with the help of the negative pressure wound therapy, well food therapies. There are ultrasounds are also available, and biosurgeries. Maggots. There are special types of maggot. Green bottle maggots are available, not available in India, but we have a tie-up with the Austrian company, and hope so in the next year we will be able to have the green bottle maggots. These maggots are a special thing. Our maggots, our housefly maggots, they eat live as well as dead tissue, but these green bottle fly maggots, they eat only the dead tissue only, and they die within 2 days. So you put the maggots into the wound, they will remove the, and especially this is very good for the ischemic wounds where little surgical this thing can trauma to the whatever the supply is there and can cause the problem. So put the maggots, they will easily remove the dead necrotic tissue, and then only you have to do the dressings and wound can heal. Then offloading. There are, as I told you, there are various types of offloading. There are offloading shoes are also there, front offloading, back, or depending upon where the ulcer is. Then you can use fiberglass, plaster, but total contact cast is a gold standard. Coming to a case discussion. This patient, a 72 years old man, has come to me with this. This is a necrotizing fasciitis. He had this ulcer, but he neglected this ulcer because it was not giving anything pain or anything to him. हमारे यहाँ बोलते हैं ना, जो ज्यादा चिल्लाता है उसकी तरफ ध्यान देता है, जो चिल्लाता है नहीं उसकी तरफ कहाँ ध्यान देंगे. डायबिटिक अल्सर चिल्लाते नहीं है, शांत रहते हैं, इसलिए कोई उसकी तरफ ध्यान ही नहीं देता. And when the patient comes, by that time the infection progresses very fast. These are the flesh-eating bacteria. They spread along the fascias and muscles and rapidly spread to the even it can be limb threatening and life threatening also. Within no time it can become a life threatening. So you have to do amputations, otherwise the patient cannot survive. But we try to save the foot. That's why we try various things and try to save the limb. You can appreciate how bad the fascia was. The completely necrotic fascia, you have to open it completely, and you can see from single ulcer how fascia, this infection has spread along the fascia to all the limb. We debrided, put a wax dressings, and after once the wound become total having the red granulation tissue, then we saved the ulcer by having the skin grafting, and limb was saved. Negative pressure wound therapy is a very good tool in the hands of any doctor. So there is an advance into the VAC therapy or negative pressure wound therapy. We have now irrigation or the VAC ultra therapies where you can not only VAC therapy removes the this and do the debridement as well as give the granulation tissue by applying the foam, and then it is connected to the machine which gives minus 125 degree mm of Hg pressure. Here with the irrigation, you can irrigate the wound at particular time. You can set that at 4 hours the wound machine will stop, the fluid will be released into the wound. You can use the antibiotic fluid also, Pontoson irrigation fluid. Then it will be soak time, and again the machine will start. So the continuously every 4 hours, 3 hours, you can set that so that it will continuously irrigation, can give you a good granulation tissue. Then you can do a skin grafting and save the foot. For the management of diabetic foot ulcers and biomechanical corrections, internal offloading surgeries, that is my topic of today's discussion. So for the better management, we can divide the ulcers into dorsal ulcers, great toe ulcers, minor toe ulcer, forefoot ulcer, midfoot ulcers, and heel ulcers. Dorsal ulcers. Dorsal ulcers are most of the time are because of a footwear injuries. So diabetic patient should not wear the slippers. They are the most common cause of footwear injuries. They should wear the proper diabetic footwear. Small injury can lead to the infection, and you can see that how bad is the slough over here. This patient was treated as a cellulitis in the hospital, but when he come to us, we just opened him, removed all dead necrotic tissue with the vac and foam dressings, converted the wound into nice granulation tissue, and then have a skin grafting, and we were able to give the foot back to the patient. This is now more than 2.5 years. Patient is still walking with a normal looking foot. Another patient come from the Surat. The patient had a small ulcer over here, and every time the surgeon were debriding and it was increasing size. This is because of a biofilms. Biofilm is a nuisance to the diabetic foot ulcers and nuisance to the surgeons, because you debride the ulcer within 48 hours. When you do the dressing, the biofilm is formed. Biofilm, what is biofilm? Biofilm is a colonies of the microbials forms on the wound surface of the diabetic foot ulcers, and they form the defense mechanism. Even they can talk with each other. It's called as a quorum sensing, like a telephone talking with each other. अरे कुछ तो भी आ रहा है, antibiotic आ रहा है, defense तैयार करो, and they can prevent themselves from the getting dislodged. So removing the biofilm is important factor. There are so many nowadays antibiotics and other things are available to remove the biofilms. You have to completely remove not only the tissue, the bone was also in calcaneus was also infected, so you have to chisel out the infection from the calcaneus. Then with the vac therapy, you can see the nice granulation tissue, and then just skin grafting, and you can give a normal foot to the patient. One more thing I would like to tell you. This patient had a ejection factor. This was a 78 years old man with ejection factor of 20%. Now, most of the time, anesthetists say patient is not fit for surgery with this thing. But we have good anesthetists who give the block. Most of the diabetic foot surgeries are done into the regional blocks or ankle block. Even regional blocks like ankle block, popliteal block, sciatic femoral block, and many surgeries, maximum surgeries can be done with that. And immediately after surgery, patient can have his food also. So anesthetic complications are prevented with the help of this anesthetist. Thanks to the anesthetist, we can do a lot of surgeries into diabetic patients. Now coming to the toe ulcer. Toe ulcer form the 33% of all the ulcers in the diabetic foot, plantar ulcers. This is a subungual ulcer. There are subungual ulcer, then there is a IP joint ulcer. The ulcer will be here, or ulcer is the toe ulcer. The cause of this is a contracture of the flexor hallucis longus tendon. Flexor tendons, the contracture of the flexor tendon, you release the flexor tendon, and within no time, the foot becomes straight and the pressure is avoided and the wound heals. So, and patient, it can be prevented for a long time. So simple tenotomy can help into preventing the recurrence in this type of ulcers. Then IP joint ulcers. IP joint ulcers at the interphalangeal joint ulcers can be, if the patients are not fit for surgery or not ready for surgery. Most of the time patients are not ready. To convince the patient, it takes a long time, because this patient thinks दूसरा incision लेके वो heal नहीं हो गया तो guarantee देंगे क्या, ये देंगे. So many things are there. So sometimes we heal the ulcer with shoes and other things, but these are going to recur again. So we offer to them the Keller's arthroplasty. This is a recurrent ulcer. This patient has all the relatives had a ulcer of this type and then undergone the toe amputation of the toe. Later on, they have undergone the amputation of the foot also. So this patient have come from all the way from the New Bombay searching me, and we had offered in this Keller's arthroplasty where 1/3 of the proximal phalanx is cut, because the cause for this ulcer is a rigidity of the metatarsophalangeal joint. As the metatarsophalangeal joint has become rigid, the pressure more comes onto the IP joint. So release the pressure from the MTP joint, and you will not get a recurrence in this ulcer, in this patient. This patient coming after the 4 months, and now more than 2.5 years, no recurrence. Another few more. This is the where we have removed the 1/3 of the proximal phalanx. Then coming to the MTP joint ulcers. MTP joint ulcer, there are various causes for MTP joint ulcer. Metatarsophalangeal joint ulcers. There can be loss of pad of fat, and there is a plantar flexion of the MTP joint. Sorry, dorsal flexion of the MTP joint, making the MTP joint more prominent. As there is a loss of pad of fat, easily there can be ulceration. There is a main cause is a rigidity of the ankle joint. That is called ankle rigidus. It is not flexible more than 10 degrees. So in this patient, we have to offer the long-time cure for these patients. This was a crooked patient. This patient was a difficult, even you can see the IP joint is become crooked. And this is not a normal IP joint. So first we thought is a Charcot foot, but it was only a crooked MTP joint. We have resected that, and we have done the tendo-Achilles lengthening, because of which we release the pressure from the forefoot by doing the tendo-Achilles TL lengthening, or the another surgery that is going to come. We can release the near about 60% of the pressure from the forefoot, and when the pressure is removed, and then give the proper footwear. This is a 78 years old man living with his wife only. Children are into US, nobody to look after them. And I am very happy that I can give him foot now. It is 2 years and there is no recurrence. Another surgery where with the help of which we can reduce the pressure on the forefoot. That is a gastrosoleus recession surgery where the gastrosoleus ligament is released, and the ulcer, there was ulcer, we have sutured primarily, and now the patient, you can see the foot 1.5 years later, there is a no recurrence. And this patient is still having no recurrence. Now it is 3 years having no recurrence. So with the help of these surgeries, we can release the pressure from the ankle joint. So release the pressure from the forefoot with the help of releasing the ankle joint, and you can prevent a recurrence. See how after the surgery, how much the ankle joint has become flexible. It was so rigid. He was not able to move his ankle joint. Now it has become so flexible. So that has reduced the pressure from the forefoot. Now coming to the midfoot. Midfoot ulcers are secondary to Charcot foot, because there is a collapse of the midfoot bones, tarsal bones. You can see this rocker bottom deformity. There is a rocker bottom, like rocker bottom chair. The pressure is coming more at the one particular pressure, and because there is a bone there, and this will not allow to heal, and there is a collapse of the bones. There is a dislocation and fractures. So this was the ulcer. We have given the total contact cast, and within 1.5 months, patient healed. But now this patient again requires 3 months of total contact cast, and then fixation. If the bones are not fixed, then it requires the internal fixation. But we all know our Indian patients, once the wound is healed, they just run away. They will not come unless until they have another ulcer. So I was repeatedly calling him, but he was not taking my phone only. Another patient where the medial cuneiform bone has come out. Again, this is a Charcot foot, where it is a dislocation of the medial cuneiform bone. You have to remove it and apply the special antibiotic beads. Now the special antibiotic beads you can use in the case of osteomyelitis, you can use in the case of infection in badly infected wounds inside. As there is a vascular compromise, the antibodies cannot go into the more concentration into the food. So these antibiotic beads, we can have a culture specific antibiotic bead and put into the wound, and they will release the antibiotics slowly there for up to 3 weeks to 3 months. So removing the infection completely, and you can get a normal healing food. Coming to the heel ulcer. Heel ulcer, the mechanism is now reverse. Here there is a deficiency of the tendo-Achilles or gastrosoleus mechanism. Now the patient is walking on the heel. The heel is more flexible now. Patient is walking on the heel, and because of which there is a neuropathy. He doesn't understand what he is doing, and there is a fracture of the calcaneus. You can see. So you have to fix this fracture and repair the tendo-Achilles, and wound starts healing. So repairing the tendo-Achilles mechanism. Now the reverse is done. Can heal the ulcers. Now this is a small innocuous looking injury, footwear injury, or you can say some injury, and you can see the tendo-Achilles tendon over there, and see the redness surrounding there. When we open, you can see how bad the tendo-Achilles is infected. You have to remove this, because these are also common ulcers. You have to remove the tendo-Achilles and then repair the ulcer, and patient can walk. Patient can walk with a limp. Then you have to give special footwear like AFO. It is called ankle foot orthosis, and patient can walk. He can do his day-to-day care. He can go and in the surrounding communities also walk, but he cannot run. That is important. Now coming to osteomyelitis. Osteomyelitis, infection of the bone. Here this patient had been to 3-4 surgeons, and every time the debridement was done, but ulcer was not healing. When we come to us, we have seen that there is a osteomyelitis, a metatarso-phalangeal joint. This work into the Ashok One Corporation Bank, this patient. So we have to resect the infected bone, and within no time the wound heals. So removing the infection help into healing of the ulcer. Another patient where there is a osteomyelitis of the IP joint. So, and we have given the special flap to the surgeon, because you have to know the angiosomes also, because where the flap is coming, how is the blood supply, depending on you have special angiosomes, and accordingly you can prepare your flap, and you can give though there is we have to here try to prevent the MTP joint, because we all know that patient walks on the first MTP joint, 5th MTP joint, and the heel. Whenever possible, try to preserve these joints so that patient can have a normal foot. So here we have preserved the MTP joint, and small toe is there with the patient. Badly infected foot, and there is a ischemia also. So initially we have resected it, raised the flaps, and then we suture it and give a deformed foot without the toes, but a normal looking foot. And he is a teacher, primary teacher, and he is still working there. Coming to the peripheral angioplasty, this patient has been operated in some big hospital in Borivali, and there was a gangrene of the toe, and wound was left. And then there was developing a cellulitis. So was referred to us. So you can see that there is a blockage. Angioplasty was done. The popliteal artery blockage, angioplasty was done, and within no time ulcer healed. Another patient having the gangrene of the toe. So whenever there is a patient of the gangrene comes of the toe, you must remind that there is a higher up obstruction into the arterial supply, and getting a straight line supply is the aim of the angioplasty. Here there is a anterior tibial artery, posterior tibial artery is blocked. So the posterior tibial artery, the straight line supply is established, and then we went for the amputation, and then ulcer healed. I think the slide is gone. Another this is also there. Yeah. This is a 36-year-old boy coming with this innocuous looking gangrene on the toe. He is a chronic smoker. So when I palpated dorsal posterior tibial, there was no palpable. On the Doppler also was not auscultable. When he subjected to the angiography, you can see the superficial femoral artery blockage was there. So long segment blockage subject to the angioplasty with the help of subjected to the bypass using his vein, and then only we treated the wound and it's healed. Another patient, gangrene of the toe, blockage into the superficial femoral artery, bypass done with the help of the Dacron graft, because higher the age you can use a graft, lower the age you can use a vein. So then only we have amputated it, and then we can give him a normal looking foot. If the patient's ulcer do not heal by offloading, if the patient ulcer do not heal by the if there is ischemic ulcers not by the angioplasty or bypass, then you have to go for a special things like a PRP or growth factors or other things also. The growth factor therapy is now established. This patient has come from South Bombay with having the amputation was done in the bigger hospital, but the wound was still there. We have used the growth factor prepared from his own blood, and within no time the ulcer healed and completely remain ulcer. Then we have Integra. Integra is an artificial skin. Artificial skin. This was a bad looking ulcer. This is after debridement, and we have put an Integra onto that. There are two layers. There is a dermal layer is replaced by the Integra. The epidermal layer which is formed by the silicone. We remove the silicone, which is comes out within 8 to 21 days, and the ulcer heals completely. And the advantage is that you can get a pinchable skin. In a normal skin grafting, there will be tough skin. Especially this is useful in the sternum and other areas where there is can be a contracture. So the Integra can be very much useful in the where you don't require the contracture as such. Then you have the Dermacell. This is again the superior product from USA, where you have to just debride, apply the Dermacell. It is very costly. Whatever comes into the inches in the Integra, it comes into the centimeter. Is this 76,000 for 4x4 Integra, 76,000 4x4 centimeter for the Dermacell. This is the last patient I would like to say, because I am very happy with this. This patient has come with this heel ulcer, and he had a total loss of power into the foot, atrophy of the muscles of the leg. He was walking with a limp and onto the heel only, and there was a infected calcaneus. So we have done the partial calcanectomy, applied the Dermacell, and you can see the almost wound heal. It has formed even the bone also. So these are the few cases. These are the advances into the management of the diabetic foot ulcers, which I would like to share with you. Thank you so much. Thank you for patient listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bayer. It was a very excellent presentation. With your permission, we would like to take the questions
Yes.
from the audience.
Yeah.
Dr. Jignesh Chauhan has asked that for general practitioners, a patient comes to the clinic with a diabetic foot. What instructions will you give to tell the patient to prevent ulcers?
Foot care and foot. We have a 10th commandments of diabetic foot care. Means for the normal patient, we just tell that do not, if the patient has come with ulcer and the patient has a normal diabetic patient which is not having the ulcer,
Yeah.
do not walk barefoot. As you take care of, generally we say, as you take care of your face, you take care of your foot. How many times you see your face, same time you must see your foot also. Not only the foot, you must see your footwears also, because there can be a nail penetration and it can be causing continuous irritation and ulcer formation. You will not come to know also. Then when you are sitting on the motorcycle, do not put your legs onto the hot silencer. Do not apply hot and cold fomentation to the foot. That can be again dangerous to the patient. Always use the footwear. This is very important. If the patient is come with the ulcer, the patient is come with ulcer, do not walk with the ulcer. It is dangerous. It can threaten your life. So if the ulcer is there, do not put a pressure. Do not walk with a affected ulcer. You should always have the offloading device, or you can have crutches or anything, but do not walk with the ulcer.
Sir, one question from my side. A patient usually, when I advise them special diabetic footwear, they usually go to some shoe shop. The shoe shop owner convinces them this is good for diabetic foot. They come back with some Bata or some other brand shoes with the intention they think that this is going to prevent. Now, basically, the psychology behind that I found is the footwear, diabetic footwear are very expensive. So, is there any way we can give them affordable footwear?
Diabetic footwears are special categories. There is a outer sole is thick so that nothing can penetrate through that. Inner sole is made up of a rubber, which is of a polymer microbial rubber, you can say, which has a pressure gradient of 8 to 14 shores. The rubber is pressure measured into the shores. So it should have a 8 to 14 shores pressure. It should not be less, it should not be more. It should not be very soft, it should not be very hard also. So that is the proper footwear. Then there should be a heel support, and it should have a flap, because most of the diabetic patients have also hypertension, they have kidney problems. So, and generally I will say, you must purchase the footwear into the evening only, not in the morning, because it is possible that in the morning your foot may be 7 number, but by the evening it may become 8 number. So if you purchase the 7 number footwear in the morning and try to put that same footwear in the 8 number foot in the evening, it can definitely cause the injury. So these are the special things, qualities of the diabetic footwears. They must use that. Going for the brand names like Bata and all these things, they don't have that proper type of diabetic footwear. Microcellular rubber is very much available in India. It is very cheap. It is available in Kalagari in Kerala. It is one place where all over the supply is made into all over the world. It is easily available. You can get it from there also and ask your Mojis to make the footwears. It is cheaper. And if you weigh your limb and if you weigh the footwear, which is more, any ulcer can land up into amputation, cost thousands and lakhs rupees, and a footwear of 1200 to 1500 will be very cheaper.
Regarding negative pressure wound therapy, is it possible for our general practitioner friends to use that in their setting, or does it require a hospital setting?
Generally, negative pressure wound therapy means you must do the debridement first. Putting the negative pressure is not a magic. You cannot put the negative pressure wound therapy on any wound. First, you must have to do the debridement, and after debridement, then only you have to put the, and that is possible into the hospital. When you do the debridement, surgical debridement, going up to the normal looking healthy tissue, then only put a VAC therapy. And because of which this only as a indiscriminate use of negative pressure wound therapy, any wounds, any this thing has given a bad name to the negative pressure wound therapy. Otherwise, this is an excellent device which can help into the diabetic patients. So if you can debride, if it is a neuropathy and you can debride into the clinic and go up to the normal looking tissue, then you can apply that. But better to go into the hospital and then only do this job. It will be excellent.
What is the approximate costing for a wound therapy, negative pressure wound therapy?
It depends. There can be Indian machine also. There can be KCI, means imported machines. The difference is KCI, when you want to give the -125 pressure mm of Ag pressure, it will give -125 mm of Ag pressure. That you cannot say about the Indian machine. Indian machines, you can get the VAC dressing, means machine along with the foam, then canister, then a connector. 8 to 10,000 maybe the charges, sometimes 12,000 maybe the charges. But if you are going for a KCI's machine, a little bit higher, but you get a nice good result out of that. 3 of a Indian machines and 1 of a KCI machine, I will say KCI is more worth, or imported one is more worth than the Indian ones.
Okay. Dr. Vinayak Desi is interested to know whether how a family physician can be helpful in a post-operative patient. Once a patient is operated by you, is there any role of a family physician in post-operative care?
Yeah. Generally, when we operate the patient, and means it is a foot, so he should not walk on the foot, and we give the offloading devices. But we really require that the hip patient should not come very often to the clinic for a dressings as such. Sometimes patient require repeated dressings. He should not come very often to the clinics because he may put his foot down and again spoil the wound or spoil the surgery as such. So post-op patient, if that care is taken by the doctors, suppose somebody has referred to me one case, and once the surgery is done, then how to do the dressings further, and then when he's come next after 1 month or this thing, easily they can do the their part into the post-operative management into the diabetic patients.
Dr. Parag Patel is interested in knowing your experience about Voxheal solution in the management of diabetic ulcers.
Yeah, I am using Voxheal solution. Now I have used in more than 5 to 6 cases. Results are good, but not always the same. Some patient help, some patient do not help, but Voxheal is good.
Another Dr. Shantilal Shah was asking whether what is the longest segment used for angioplasty and a 5-year survival of the graft, bypass graft.
Nowadays, with the help of long balloons, generally we say the short segment angioplasty, long segment bypass surgery. But now we have the length of the balloon is more. We have the so we can have the good segments also, 7 to 8 centimeter segments, and can be managed with the balloon angioplasties. And then after that, when there is a stenosis, you can always put a stent over there.
Any particular message or instruction to be given to a patient about daily foot care? What should be the regime for a patient to follow every day to prevent ulcers?
To prevent ulcers, use diabetic footwear. As I said, take care of your foot as you take care of face every day. Wash your foot. Give some time to the foot. As you say, generally we say that they give time to more to the face, but after the bath, sit down on the bed and wipe out your foot. In between the wave spaces also you clean, because the fungal infection is very much common. Then after that, you can apply the moisturizer to prevent the autonomic neuropathy. In the morning, after the bath, in the evening, when you go to the bed. Use the footwears in the home also, in the house, in the outside also, because in the home also there are small children are there who can have the playing things and they can injure your legs. So always use the footwears. Even we have developed the temple socks also, because in temple the footwears are not allowed. We have come over that with forming the temple socks. And more, I am happy to tell you, most of the pujaris also use the temple. So it is like a foot socks, looks like the socks, but there is a cushion over there at the plantar aspects. Then again, prevent hot and cold fermentation. Do not walk barefoot. Then when you go to Goa on the hot beaches, don't walk barefoot. Try not to go. If you want to go, then use the footwears. Hot summer, don't walk on the tiles. If you are sitting on the motorcycle, don't put your foot on the silencers, or you are traveling in the bus. Don't put your foot on the middle of where there is a hot this thing is there. So preventing all the physical elements where they are not too much hot, not too much cold, even while taking the bath also. If you have neuropathy, so have the thermometer to know the temperature of the water. Don't put the water into the on the foot and say, yeah, it's okay, but it's on your foot. There are many patients who come like that also. If you really don't want the thermometer, you can, with the help of elbow also, you can know the temperature. You can finger also, but sometimes there is neuropathy which is socks and gloves appearance neuropathy which is common into that. So you can use your elbow also to know the temperature and then use the water for that.
Dr. Boyer, one last question. A lot of our patients are confused because their treating physicians usually tell them to walk every day. And as surgeons, we tell them don't walk. So exactly what is the advice to them? Because a lot of the patients get confused.
Generally, those who tell them to walk are the cardiologists.
Yes.
And those they say that when you walk, your heart will be better. But what happens to your foot? As a foot surgeons, you will say don't walk.
Yeah.
Especially when there is an ulcer.
Yeah.
Do not walk on an affected foot. after, if you want to really walk with taking the proper footwear and foot care, offloading devices, then only you can walk. But once the ulcer is developed, try minimize your walking as much as possible. If there is no ulcer, you can walk. You can definitely take care of your foot. You can take care of your heart and other elements also there. You can walk. You can go to the national park every day. But if there is ulcer is there, please don't walk on the affected foot. You can do exercises sitting on the bed also. You can do other exercises, but don't walk.
Thank you very much, Dr. Boyle. It was a nice presentation and a good question answer session. Now over to Dr. Jignesh Chauhan for the other formalities.
Sir, one more question is there from
Yes.
Dr. Parag Patel.
Yes. Yeah, Dr. Parag Patel is asking how to differentiate a diabetic foot ulcer from a trophic ulcer of leprosy.
Generally, what all the treatment we have got, it is got from the experience of the leprosy. The patient definitely will having the history of leprosy. Those patients who was having the leprosy as well as diabetes. But you have other tests with the help of which we can know leprosy part. But diabetes can also cause neuropathy, leprosy can cause neuropathy, and these footwears have already this. Where I tell Caligari is a center for leprosy. It is established for leprosy. Now they are making footwear for diabetes. Leprosy is replaced by diabetes now.
Okay.
But in this condition, you can have the skin scraping and other tests with the help of which we can know the leprosy, whether patient is having leprosy or not. And you can have the history of diabetes also. There can be combination of both, or there is only diabetes or only leprosy also there. The history, proper history taking, and the test you can able to know.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Jignesh Chauhan, you can take over.
Okay, sir. Friends, I think so no any more questions are remain. It is very interesting and informative question answer session. So thank you, Dr. Shrikant Boyer, sir, and Dr. Ravindra Bagwe, sir. Now here I am requesting for representative of UQR Pharmaceutical to say few words and present their some small 5-minute slide related to our topic.
Yes. Okay, so good evening, doctors, and thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to present our slides in this session. I'd like to welcome our zonal manager, Mr. Pradeep Lomti, in this session. And first, I'd like to introduce UKR Pharmaceuticals, UKR Urgo Medical. So Urgo Medical is a French multinational, and they deal in advanced wound care segment. So, and they are currently number one in European advanced wound care market. And in 2016, they have a collaboration with UKR Pharmaceuticals, and since then they have been marketing their product. Like collagen, you already know, predominantly used in burn segment, collagen biofil. And now they have introduced silver dressing like Urgo Clean AG, predominantly used in diabetic foot segment, venous leg ulcer, and pressure injuries. So let me present the slide. This, okay. Yeah, is it visible?
Yeah, visible.
Okay, yes. So Urgo Clean AG is the most advanced silver dressing that is brought to you by Urgo Medical, France. So this is the only silver dressing that gives complete and continuous cleaning action because it effectively fights against local infection and minimize the reoccurrence of infection. So doctor, it's very common phenomena that whenever you take a closer look of any kind of wound, you will find that there is love, biofilm, whatever Dr. Boyer was discussing in his slides. It's very common. And because of these things, the wound healing process overall that gets delayed. So now Urgo Clean AG with the powerful technology of TLC-AG, that is lipido-colloid technology, and this is patented by Urgo Medical with polyabsorbent fibers. So now with the combination of two powerful technology, at the same time they are subsiding the infection level and microbe level, reducing the wound surface area, and also cleaning continuously. They are cleaning the biofilm and slough from the wound. So that's why we are saying that this is the only silver dressing with complete and continuous cleaning action. because biofilm, doctor, you know that this is the especially in chronic wound, it's a predominant factor, and it's very disturbing actually. So removing biofilm, and not only removing, also ensuring that the reformation of biofilm should not occur. That is the motto of Urgo Clean AG. That's why we are saying that it is providing a complete and continuous cleaning action with this anti-biofilm and antimicrobial efficacy. So whenever you are putting this Urgo Clean AG on the wound bed, within 30 minutes, it because of its fast and effective action, it reaches its 99.99% efficacy within just 1 day or 24 hours. Not only that, it's also killing 40 bacteria strain. It's already proven within that also includes antibiotic resistant bacteria as well. And apart from that, it's also destroying and also stopping the reformation of biofilms. So here you can, in this graphical presentation, you can see is a more than 4 log reduction. The green dot is the Urgo Clean AG. More than 4 log reduction is there, and that's how it proves its anti-biofilm and antimicrobial efficacy that lasts up to 7 days by Urgo Clean AG. So here we are treating the cause of exudate, because in a wound, if there is biofilm, if there is slough, if there is microbes are there, that triggers the higher level of exudate. So that's why removing this cause is very important, rather than treating, rather than, absorption. Absorption is not all. That's why we are saying that treating the cause of exudate, that is the main motto of Urgo Clean AG. And that's what we are doing. That Urgo Clean AG, whenever it is getting applied on an wound bed, just like a magnet, it is dragging out all the garbage material like slough, biofilm, and microbes from the wound bed. It's cleaning, and whenever it's cleaning, the silver, positively charged silver ions, it's killing the bacteria, microbes, whatever it is there. And at the same time, because of its unique lipidocolloid technology, it creates a moist wound environment, triggers the fibroblast proliferation, and that's how it reduces wound surface area. Yes, and also cleaning action, exudate absorption is also there with this product. So day 1, doctor, you can see day 1, this is the result, and after applying Urgo Clean AG, day 11, you can see there's a healthy granulation. And this one I'd like to mention. It's an observational study that has been done in Germany, and 81 centers in Germany, and more than 2,200 patients, they were enrolled in this observational study. So here, in owned, and after energy, within 3 weeks, you can see the blue. So blood chronic already, there's a significant and pain between dressing change, that's also significantly reduced by using Urgo Clean AG. So yes, this is the this is overall Urgo Clean AG, I'd like to say. And apart from that, we have another product for acute infected wound, that is Urgo Tool AG. But since this is a diabetic foot forum, and diabetic foot is a very common, so that's why I'd like to say that Urgo Clean AG should be very useful in your day-to-day practice, since you have come across such kind of wounds, venous leg ulcer, etc. So yes, that's it. So if you feel this, I can personally meet you at your chamber and clinic and give you the sample for that, so that you can use, and you can give the feedback as well, since it's a very new product. That's why, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, madam. Now here I am requesting to our chairperson come our lovable DMA past president, Dr. Dilip Raut, sir, to give a vote of thanks.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, audible.
Okay, friends, I, Dr. Dilip Raut, on behalf of DMA, would like to thank Dr. Shrikant for delivering excellent and informative lecture on management of diabetic foot. I also thank Dr. Bagwe, who participated as moderator. Thanks DMA team, especially scientific team, to keep alive DMA through series of webinars, especially in this era of Corona. And special thanks to Dr. Jignesh Chauhan, who is the only techno-savvy person from our DMA team. Thanks a lot, guys. Keep it up. And Vinayak Desai too, organizer.
Thank you, Dr. Dilip Raut, sir. Dear
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Today is the 16th webinar of our series, and as usual, Dr. Shrikant Goyal, sir, is delivering excellent lecture to us and updating our knowledge about the advanced management of diabetic foot ulcer which is really useful to us in our general practice. So thank you, Dr. Shrikant Bhoi sir, Dr. Ravindra Bhagwe sir, Dr. Vinod Pandey sir, Dr. Dilip Raut sir, and Dr. Vinayak Desai sir. On behalf of Dahisar Medical Association, I am Dr. Jignesh Vasan Chauhan, announce the end of today's webinar session. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
मेरा कुछ सुनाई दिया क्या तुझे बराबर?